Mankind has lived with the tobacco plant and enjoyed its pleasures for more than 400 years. Today, however, the cigarette is often taken for granted as simply part of the modern way of life. But how much do you really know about cigarettes? You see them and sell them all the time, but do you ever stop to think about them? Well, let's just see. How many different kinds of cigarettes are there? And we don't mean brands. We wouldn't even be sure of that ourselves. No, we mean different types of tobacco, like Virginia, Burley, Oriental, and the tobaccos that are roasted, flavoured, perfumed, fermented. Then there are tipped and untipped cigarettes, low and middle tar, not to mention 5 main choices of length. So there's a lot to know if you're to know it all. Well, we don't expect many people will want to know that much, but some things could be interesting and useful for you to know and make your selling more effective. Some things also you may be a little curious about now we've started you thinking. For instance, would this man's tobacco preference be the same as this man's? Or this? Or perhaps this woman's? Probably not, you'd say, and you'd probably be right. But the chances are you wouldn't have any idea why this was so. In this short program, we hope to give you a better idea of how different cigarette tastes come about and why taste preferences of smokers vary in different parts of the world. Every cigarette that reaches your shelves has travelled the routes we're about to describe. The history of tobacco starts in Central America 400 years ago, when it was cultivated for pipe and crude cigar smoking. Sir Walter Raleigh discovered the use of tobacco in Virginia in the 16th century. And Virginia tobacco is still the most widely used today, but no longer the only variety. The cultivated tobacco plant is called Nicotiana tabacum, and it was developed from the original wild-growing Nicotiana rustica. In fact, the tobacco plant is from the same family as the tomato, pepper, potato, and petunia. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it. But perhaps we better just stick to tobacco for the moment. The world's annual tobacco production comes from 5 main growing areas, which produce the 3 types of tobacco plant: Virginia, Burley, and Oriental. Virginia is still grown in Virginia and other parts of North America, also in Africa, the Far East, and South America. Burley is a North American variety also, grown mainly in Kentucky and Tennessee. Oriental tobacco is grown in Greece, Turkey, the Middle East, and some parts of Asia. Tobacco seeds are extremely small, with approximately 300,000 seeds per ounce. They look very similar to your morning coffee powder, and we do a similar thing with them. That is, we mix them with water in order to spread them on open-air seed beds. Some 6 weeks after seeding, the young plants are strong enough to be planted in the fields for full cultivation. The plant flowers, and the seed head is topped or removed so that the leaves can develop fully. A Virginia plant grows to 2 meters in height. Its leaves are broad and light in colour. They're picked selectively in stages, starting from the bottom upwards during the ripening process. Burley has darker leaves, which are harvested by the whole plant. The Oriental plant has a different character. due to the stonier soil of the regions in which it's cultivated. It reaches only about 1 meter in height and has leaves of a smaller and more delicate nature, highly prized for their subtle and distinctive flavour. They too are picked selectively to allow full ripening of each leaf. The tobacco plant is perishable, and 90% of its leaf weight is made up of water. The only way to preserve it after harvesting is to dry it by the method known as curing, either by flue, air, sun, or fire curing. In flue curing, the leaf is hung in specially designed barns, heated by carefully controlled fires outside the barn, which supply heat to iron flues inside. This stops the fires contaminating the leaf. Moisture from the leaf escapes through vents. Flue curing takes 5 to 8 days, producing a bright yellow leaf with a mellow smoking flavour. Air curing is possibly the oldest method, using open-sided barns that control the flow of air. It takes 6 to 12 weeks, depending upon the climatic conditions of the country using the process. Air-cured tobacco is often referred to as light, medium, or dark air-cured. The colour and flavour of the cured leaf is determined by the time taken to cure it. Leaf cured quickly will be light brown, while leaf cured slowly will be dark and full in flavour. Sun curing requires long periods of sunshine. The leaf is first stored in dark, cool sheds until yellow, then hung on drying racks in the sun for 4 to 6 weeks. The cured leaf is light brown. In a fire curing barn, leaf is dried over open fires of specially selected wood or sawdust for about 13 weeks to produce a very dark leaf with a distinctive smoky flavour. Fire-cured leaves are often fermented after curing to reduce the harshness of taste produced by this process. Virginia is traditionally flue-cured. Burley is mostly air-cured. Oriental is normally sun-cured. The cured crop is then sorted according to length of leaf, colour quality and grade, and taken to market to meet the first important customers in the long process of becoming cigarettes, the tobacco buyers. Buyers from the world's major manufacturers meet at tobacco auctions where they begin to make a close inspection of the crops on offer. Then the auction proceeds. Once bought, Virginia and Burley leaves go to a cleaning and classifying unit where leaves are stripped from their stems. Oriental tobacco, having a more delicate leaf and small stem, is never separated. The leaf and stems are then shipped to bonded warehouses until fully matured, up to 2 years later. During this maturing period, shipment samples are held by manufacturers so buyers can check their progress and decide blend recipes for their various brands. They hold 2 years' reserve supply of leaf in order to preserve blend flavour across many harvests. Like any crop, tobacco can suffer from Mother Nature's unpredictability. Harvests can sometimes prove to be below standard, or even fail altogether. And smokers would soon detect if the taste of their favourite cigarette was to alter. So, the blender's art is in knowing precisely what tobaccos to buy and how to process and blend the wide variety of leaf flavour into a distinctive brand taste, which they keep constant over many years in cigarettes that are freshly produced day by day. Blend recipes are closely guarded secrets. They're transmitted in code between the buyers and their factories. All cigarettes are made from blends of 20 or so grades or type of leaf spread over perhaps 3 crop years. It's by blending leaves from different crop years that any variability in flavour is evened out. Flavour can also be affected by the addition of 2 other main ingredients known as casings and flavourings. Their difference being the type of ingredients used and the proportions in which they're applied. Casings include many confectionery-type ingredients such as cocoa, licorice and sugar, which are applied in significant amounts to achieve particular tastes. Flavourings are applied in much more subtle proportions. They're compounded from hundreds of ingredients in much the same way as perfumes, using mostly natural oils from flowers or fruits. Another popular method is the addition of menthol, to give the effect of coolness to the palate during smoking. Menthol is sometimes added directly to the tobacco during processing, but its effect can also be achieved by applying it not to the tobacco, but to the foil wrapping of the packet. So, there you have the range of possibilities from which the variety of individual brand tastes and flavours can be created. 3 different varieties of tobacco: Virginia, Burley, Oriental. 4 methods of curing. Blending options among the 3 tobacco types and different grades of leaf. And the addition of some other flavour to suit a particular preference. The variety of tobacco tastes, traditionally enjoyed in different parts of the world, have led to very particular and diverse taste preferences in cigarettes. It can seem very confusing, particularly if you work at a busy world crossroad, such as at an airport duty-free shop. Let's examine some of the major preferences. First, the traditional UK taste, which is based on a blend of pure Virginia, flue cure tobaccos, without the addition of casings or flavourings. Here are some major brands in this category. The UK blend produces a smooth, well-balanced, mellow flavour with very little aftertaste when the cigarette is finished. A variation on the UK blend is known as modified Virginia. It has small amounts of air-cured or oriental tobaccos added, and possibly some flavourings to create a more distinctive taste. The traditional US blend uses all 3 tobaccos, with approximately 60% Virginia, 30% of the richer Burley, and 10% of the more aromatic Oriental. High temperature processing and the addition of casings and flavourings produces the roasted, toasted flavour associated with American brands, such as these. A variation known as US type blend uses either a much higher percentage of flue cure tobaccos or substitutes locally grown tobaccos. The German blend is also modelled on the US, but uses a much higher percentage of Oriental tobacco and adopts lower processing temperatures. This creates smoking characteristics between the US blend and a pure Oriental blend. In the rest of Europe, the taste preference is often for air-cured blends. Tobacco produced domestically varies widely in colour and taste, depending on local curing conditions. This has led to 3 subgroups of air-cured blends. A light air-cured blend also contains some sun-cured tobacco. It may be modified too by significant proportions of flue-cured or Oriental tobaccos. Medium air-cured often blends both dark and light air-cured tobaccos such as Burley. Local tobaccos may also be mixed in on occasion. Dark air-cured has some fire-cured tobacco added, possibly fermented, to create a very distinctive taste and aroma. Finally, the Oriental blends, mainly Turkish or Greek tobaccos without the addition of casings or flavorings. The cigarettes can often be identified by their oval shape and sweetly perfumed aroma. These blends are preferred mostly in Greece, Turkey and Eastern Bloc countries. However, after years of intensive marketing, both UK and US blends have overtaken them in popularity. There you have the 9 blend types, all different in taste and appearance. But that's just part of the story. Worldwide demand for cigarettes is in the billions. So, quality cigarettes must be produced in millions daily to meet demand. Let's take a look at how it's done. Tobacco from the bonded warehouse is weighed and measured into appropriate blending lots for brand recipes. Up to 55 different grades of leaf may be required to create a final blend. The dried and compressed leaves are first preconditioned, then separated for further conditioning. The treated leaves, or lamina, are layered horizontally into the blending bin by type and grade of tobacco. For US blends, casings would now be added. The blend is then tightly compressed for slicing into widths of approximately 1 millimeter, before being dried once more and cooled. Meanwhile, the stems have been similarly processed and blended, rolled flat, and cut even more finely than the leaf before they too are dried. Finally, the blends of lamina and stems are mixed together. In certain cases, flavoring is added at this stage to create a special aroma. Processing is now complete, with the tobacco blended, cut and finished. It's now ready to be turned into cigarettes. However, it isn't the only element that makes up the final cigarette. So what about the others? There are 3 other elements: the paper that holds the cut tobacco, the filter tip, if there's to be one, and the tipping paper that joins the filter tip to the cigarette. In fact, more than 80% of cigarettes are now filter tipped, so filters are very important in today's marketplace. All of these, paper, filter and tipping paper, affect the taste delivered by the cigarette, which may surprise you. The paper must be strong to hold the rod of tobacco together and withstand the pressures of high-speed manufacture. Some machines may produce up to 8,000 cigarettes every minute. Very high-speed technology indeed. The paper must resist discoloration through aging and give an acceptable appearance to the cigarette ash. In fact, the choice of paper plays an important role in how a cigarette burns. The porosity of the paper to air also influences the delivery of smoke constituents to the smoker. Lastly, but not without importance, is the appearance of the cigarette. The impression of quality is often conveyed by selecting a superior grade of paper. The filter tip and tipping paper control the delivery of smoke constituents from the cigarette. They are in fact used specifically to help reduce the amount of tar delivered during smoking. There are 2 main categories of cigarettes: full flavor and mild, distinguished on the basis of their tar delivery. In the UK, brands with a tar delivery of less than 10 milligrams are called low tar. The filter tipping paper on most low tar cigarettes has barely visible holes which permit a controlled amount of air to enter the cigarette as it's puffed. This dilutes the smoke and reduces the level of tar the cigarette will deliver. Most major brands, such as these, now offer both a full flavor and mild version. And then there are brands positioned in the low tar sector only. At the heart of the manufacturing process, an advanced control system delivers the correct blend and amounts of tobacco to the machines. It's very highly developed technology. Cut tobacco passes through an airlock before entering the machinery. Once there, it's automatically combed by rollers before being spread smoothly onto a belt system. It's then sucked by air current to form a continuous cigarette-sized rod of tobacco. The paper is dispensed simultaneously from a narrow roller under the monitoring eyes of photoelectric cells which look for defects or tears. The brand name is printed at precise intervals. Then, at a speed faster than the human eye can follow, the paper wraps around the tobacco and is glued. The continuous length of cigarette is then cut into 8,000 individual lengths per minute, which proceed to the filter tipping section. Double-length filters are fed between each pair, and tipping paper fuses them into a double-length cigarette. But only for a fraction of a second, because cutters immediately halve it into 2 complete filter-tipped cigarettes. At this stage, samples are laboratory tested for consistency of weight, length, moisture content, appearance, and stability of the ends. Filter tips and tobacco undergo draw resistance tests, and the paper is checked for burning time. Further tests for taste and chemical analysis ensure complete consistency for the product throughout every day's production, year in, year out. Meanwhile, cigarettes flow continuously to an overhead conveyor and to a reservoir named Oscar, from where they descend to hoppers which feed them into the packaging unit. Here they are wrapped in foil, the packet automatically formed around them, and glued into shape. The final cellophane wrapping seals the pack airtight. The packs can now move into the world of the smoker.
Get the taste. The very special taste of success.
What you want is Du Maurier. Du Maurier. What you want is Du Maurier. Du Maurier. What you want is Du Maurier. Du Maurier. What you want is...
Advertising campaigns in every market and almost every language on earth tell which brands offer which type of smoking characteristic, whether by length or style or quality. In this way, smoking preferences around the world become identified with particular kinds of images. Smokers who travel the world passing through your duty-free area come with clearly formed taste preferences and images in their mind based on the brands and advertising they know. But your duty-free area is a world crossroads, and though well-stocked, may not always have brands they're familiar with at home. Successful selling means supplying goods that meet customers' demands, so the more you know about their needs, the better equipped you are to sell to them. But how can you meet those needs when you may not know their particular taste preferences and may not have smoked any of the brands yourself? Most smokers will, of course, look for their favored brand. Should you not carry that brand, however, you may now be able to advise on the closest alternative after just a few inquiries. For customers buying cigarettes as gifts, this may be just a little more difficult. First, you would inquire where the smoker lives, because this could provide the first vital clue to possible taste preference. Then questions such as length of cigarette required, tipped or untipped preference, full flavour or mild, all help to decide which brands to suggest. Finally, you should always remember that duty-free prices represent excellent value compared to domestic market prices. This often leads smokers to try more expensive cigarettes when travelling. So be ready to advise on premium brands as good alternatives to the brand usually smoked. We don't pretend that all of this is easy, but we do hope this short programme will help you give advice and guidance to your customers with greater confidence. We thank you for your attention and wish you success with your future dealings with the world's travellers.